I was driving down the road and I was stopped at a stop sign and I was on the phone, hands-free. I was on the phone and I'm like, oh, I applied for this other job, hopefully. And as I'm sitting there, the bus for that other place went by and I said, there's my sign. So, God gives you those signs. You just have to pay attention, and keep your eyes open. It can be just the tiniest sign or it can be a big blaring sign. They're going to tell you. Follow your gut because your gut tells you. And the way it gets there is through the universe.
Rare Medium with Deb Snyder, celebrating life's rarities, the people, places, and experiences that just might be a little bit weird. This podcast explores all facets of our energetic connections to each other and beyond. We'll dive into the depths of mediumship, psychic ability, intuition, near-death experiences, afterlife research, healing modalities, and more. Our focus is to bring you relevant and moving accounts with guests who share their authentic selves and their treks into the spiritual and energetic realms. We'll learn how those experiences shifted their perspective on life itself. Join us to be inspired by everyday people on their extraordinary journeys into the rare medium of the mystical world. Topics discussed on Rare Medium by the host and guests are presented for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional, legal, or medical advice. Hello and welcome to Rare Medium with Deb Snyder. I'm your host, Deb. Today, I am blessed to have my dear friend, Melissa Woolley, right here in the studio with me. Melissa and I have known each other about 8 years. We met at was it a Reiki retreat?
It was.
It was a special healing retreat. I was speaking to this beautiful group of people, and she was one of the beautiful people that was there. Now, Melissa's going to be talking to us today about her lifelong journey into energy communication, her abilities as an empath, a psychic, and a medium. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, good to have you here. So tell me, how did all this get started for you?
So growing up, I always knew I was different. I didn't seem to fit in, but I felt like people were watching me all the time. Like I'd be playing or ice skating. And all of a sudden it felt like I had hundreds of people watching me.
So people that you couldn't see.
People I couldn't see.
Okay.
And so I would just run into the house and just play in my bedroom. And I never knew why. And I didn't want to tell my parents because I didn't want them to think that I was paranoid and, I had a mental disorder or anything and put me into a hospital. So I never said anything. Things would happen. Like my dad and I were watching Rescue 911 when it first came out. And I had to say something and it just kind of like comes right out. When they were breaking to a commercial, they had said, next we are going to have a story about a boy who was rollerblading and fell and a water truck hit him. And I just blurted out and it ripped his back open and you could see his spine.
Ooh.
And my dad just kind of brushed it off. But when they came back from commercial, I had said it word for word. And my dad looked at me and said, you've seen this before. And I said, no, this is the first show. I've never seen this before.
And when we were growing up, it aired. You didn't get to stream or look back on it.
Exactly. And so he just looked at me and he's like, yeah, okay. He didn't believe me. So I'm like, okay.
When I was little, I was under 10 and I used to spend summers with my grandparents in Pennsylvania and I did something similar, but I did it with the lottery numbers as they came up. And it was very simple number sequence. I think it was 369, which still kind of is like a number sequence I like. I called them just as the little balls floated up to the top. And my grandpap looked at and he was like, he took me out to buy lottery tickets and pick numbers. And I'm like, of course I couldn't do any of that. And of course I know as an adult, you don't profit from that kind of thing. As a little kid, I was just doing you're almost like guessing what the numbers are.
Yep.
He thought it was pretty freaky. He got on his singles to go buy the tickets. It was funny.
Yeah. People, it catches people by surprise and they kind of brush it off. I have been able to say this, and this is going to happen. And all of a sudden I'll get a phone call going, did you do this because that happened? I'm like, no. For example, I had a gentleman who was going to be homeless and we had grown up together. So I said, hey, you can stay with us. And he got upset with me and moved out. And I was talking to my mom and his mom were friends. And I said, what's going to happen is he's going to get pulled over. The cop's going to find out that his license plate belongs to a different car. He has no insurance and no registration. He's going to be arrested and he's going to lose his job. Like a month later, I got a phone call from my mom and the exact thing happened. And she goes, did you call the police on him? I'm like, no, I don't even know where he is.
That is right.
How can I do
I'm
that?
going to call the police to pull him over in some random location. And why?
Why?
Right, exactly.
What does that benefit me? It doesn't.
Right.
It just, ruins somebody else's life. And that's not, my purpose in life. And so those things started happening, but I didn't know what I could do.
Right. I know when I was growing up, like yourself, I've been psychic-ish my whole life, even before I knew that kind of word. And I didn't know that not everyone was like that all the time already. I do think everybody can be that way and can develop their abilities and use their abilities. But I thought that it was just a way we all saw the world. Yeah. So it didn't make sense to me sometimes how not everybody did get that sort of insight. And it took a long time and my own understanding of my abilities to get how that works. Mm-hmm. How did you start putting the pieces together for yourself?
It wasn't until I was in my 40s and I was going to Reiki. She kept saying, there's something I can't put my finger on about you. And I'm like, okay. We would talk and stuff like that. And this is when the tidal wave hit me. And when, it's that old saying, be careful what you wish for, because I literally felt like I was hit by a tidal wave. And I met somebody and I shook his hand and it just from that point on. And to give you a little bit of how it developed was at work, he had actually cut his hand almost off and had it reattached. And it was his right hand. And so shook with right hand. And I started feeling pain in my hand. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, out of the blue. And so I'm like, that's weird. So I called my friend Jen and I said, have you ever heard of somebody feeling somebody else's physical pain? She goes, you're an empath. And I'm like, what's an empath? And she's like, look up the 30 traits of an empath. And by the time you're done reading those, you will know if you're an empath. I told Charlotte I was 2 off from 30. And she goes, look at it a different angle. Just so people know, Charlotte is a mutual friend of ours who'll be on another episode. We'll get to introduce you to her directly. Oh, you'll love her. She's my mentor. That'll be a treat for you. Now tell me, Melissa, you said you had these experiences off and on throughout your life from childhood, but it cracked open for you in your 40s when you realized literally physically touching someone, that you could feel their pain. You also acknowledge now that's probably not good to walk around and feel everybody's pain. What did you do from there? Now I actually only feel one person's pain. He can bump his elbow and I'll feel it. In order to stop me from feeling the pain, I have to find out where it's coming from, acknowledge it, have that person acknowledge it, and then the pain goes away for me. This friend lives down in Massachusetts and he literally will bump his elbow. He's tall. He's 6'2". He'll bump his head like he has an old house that he lives in. And when he goes downstairs, he's so tall, he hits his head. And so I know when I'm feeling pain here, he's doing laundry. You should be like, Doc. Yeah, I do. I was going to send him a picture to put up on there of a duck. That's right. And so I know here he's getting into his van and here he's getting into the passenger side. And so the other things, like he had to have a test on his arm where they put needles in it and then attach electrodes. Most painful experience I've ever had.
Oh boy.
And it was not me. For a week, I was in a lot of pain. So I haven't had that in a long time. I tried to, once I acknowledge it, the pain usually goes away. It's like, okay, we know the source, we know, and we know that they're okay.
Right.
So I take it as is the universe telling me they got hurt. Check on them, make sure they're okay.
Yeah, that's interesting concept for sure. I'm all about the bridge of science and spirituality. I'm like, well, that's fascinating. Let's figure out why you can do that. The responsibility of it, for where is that responsibility for you? I mean, obviously this is one of your closest friends, for you
Actually,
to...
he wasn't. We just happened to meet.
And how did you realize it was him?
Because I put it out, I would put it out. I'm feeling this. And he goes, oh, I just bumped my head. And I'm like, okay, so, I'm feeling you. So he's my first go-to person when I'm feeling pain.
Now that would be interesting to try to do sort of like a blind study where he just sends you something without you knowing it all.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And try to figure out if it correlates. I am definitely a psychic, but I'm a skeptic too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We don't want people misleading us on things but that's fascinating. In my situation, my daughter is nonverbal and she and I communicate energetically all the time. There are definitely times where I know what's wrong with her based on how I feel it in my body, but yet I know why I feel that because I have this, what I call in my book, the field of intuitive harmony, where our energy centers overlap. And when we're in resonance in that space, that's where it's possible. That's where the communication is possible. So that's what I would be interested in hearing. Okay, why is your field overlapping with his to make that correlation?
Yeah. When I was doing the Reiki with my friend Jen, and who said, oh, you're an empath. She says, but there's much more. There is much more. And she introduced me to Angie, who is an empath. And then Angie introduced me to Charlotte. And so we were doing a Reiki share. And Charlotte's like, let's get you on the table. Let's see what's happening. Jen had told me that the person that I shook my hand, their grandmother was attached to me, but I couldn't hear the grandmother yet.
Right.
So she goes, I'm going to talk to, Graham and see what we can do. And so I was on the table and I kept hearing over and over, she's mine, she's mine, she's mine. And I thought, okay, that's weird.
That's creepy. That's weird.
It's a little possessive.
Yeah, are you talking about me?
Yeah. And so when I got up from the table, Charlotte goes, did you have any experiences? And I'm like, I kept hearing, she's mine over there. She goes, okay, what do when you say you're an empath, what does that mean to you? And I said, I can feel emotional and physical pain of others, emotions. I mean, whether it's happy, sad, I feel those. And she goes, you're a medium as well. After that point, I could hear. I'm going to put hear because it comes to my head. And the next day, I had a full conversation with Graham.
Interesting.
And that's when I started to be able to hear people, hear the spirits. I was like, whoa, blown away.
It's always so fascinating how some of this stuff moves through people in different ways. Now, now, I'm sure in your development that you have total control of your own body and your own energy. You don't need grandma or anybody hanging on you or controlling you. We can all protect our privacy, ourselves, our energy fields, and not have anybody walking around with us that we don't want to have walking around with us.
Right.
When you first start, I can understand how that would be. It's not as clear because you're not attributing it necessarily to a particular person. For me, a few years ago, I would think I was hearing my own husband's voice. Sometimes in the middle of the night, it would be like, Deb. And I'd be like, what? And he'd be sound out. It was my own guides or some of the connections that I was getting elsewhere that I didn't quite know to assign to a different level of communication. And so it does take a while to sort of through all of that.
Trying to figure out why. That's how I started out. I was always trying to figure out why. I had to learn not to focus on the why. I had to focus on, okay, I got your message, put it out to the universe, give it to God. The reasoning behind it will surface at one point. You just have to be patient. Patience in certain situations, not my strong.
That's good to know.
You can ask Charlotte. Like if I'm training somebody at my other job, I have all the patience in the world. But when it comes to figuring out something that pertains to me, I have no patience whatsoever.
Well, think of it this way. We are receivers of energy, of different waves of communication. Think about just our regular waking world right now, all the communication that's coming through right now. Just think about the radio, the TV, all the different channels, everything going through. Only certain receivers that are tuned in to pick up those certain signals get it. But when do you remember back in the day where we used to sort of dial in a radio, or especially if like maybe our granddad or dad was on those specialty like ham radios and things so they could pick someone up on the other side of the world, they had to get to the certain thing, but you heard all this other static and you heard all these other rogue voices going on at the same time. So this is literally how it can be, not always, how it can be for people when you're figuring out how you receive.
Yes.
And so some of it will be totally yours. It'll be people that you're choosing to link to. Others of it is more like a passing thing. Once you're getting further and further in your mediumship development, you'll know, okay, you'll set your space, you'll set your stage, and you'll invite who you want to talk with and no one other than that. Or else think of how many people are in spirit. We would just be nonstop just saying gibberish all the time and it wouldn't really land with anyone. I agree that it's a bit of a big mess when it all first starts.
And I have an example of that as well. My brother-in-law had passed away at a young age, and I said, you know what, I'm going to stop by his grave. And all the spirits saw me talking to him, and they came flooding towards me. And he literally put his arms out like this and said, that's my sister-in-law, and I get to talk to her.
Aww.
And then he held them back for me to get into my car.
Now, did you see this in your mind's eye? Was this a clairvoyant situation or just a knowingness?
It's knowing it. So when spirits come to me, I know what they're doing. What their body gestures are and everything.
So do you see that or you just sense that?
I sense it.
Okay, so you're not clairvoyant.
No, right. I have seen spirits, like Graham showed herself.
Yeah.
When I was in kindergarten, my best friend was killed by getting hit by a dump truck, and I happened to look out the door and I saw him standing on the porch.
So you are clairvoyant.
Yes, I do have most of the clairs. For me, is trusting my abilities.
Right.
There are so many people who are skeptical out there. When I'm doing a reading, they give me symbols and signs for me to say, okay, I identify this with this. Like, for example, Easter. I had somebody come to me and I was doing a reading and I kept seeing the statues on Easter Island. What do the statues on Easter Island mean to you? And they were like, I have no idea. And so I'm like, okay, all right. So maybe I'm wrong, because we're not all 100% accurate. And then later she came up to me. She goes, I know what those are. She goes, my mother died on Good Friday. So for me, they showed me Easter Island.
Right. So it was a connection for you. Right. Yes. That's why it's excellent form. Good for you. Excellent form to give what you get. And not get something, interpret it with your own filter, and just give them your interpretation. Give them both. Give them what you get. And if you're saying, and to me, it means this, because we do build our own dictionary, library, however you want to say it, of symbolism, of how we interpret something. That's not going to be the same for me as it is for you. I remember many years ago, I did a reading for someone, and she said to me on the way out, oh, I have a blind date tonight. How's it going to go? Those are always the fun questions. In my clairvoyance, my mind's eye flashed someone that I actually know. Now, I know she didn't have a date with this person that I know, but I said, well, I think he's going to have a dazzling smile and he's probably a physical therapist, because the person I saw in mind's eye was a handsome man with a dazzling smile who happened to be a physical therapist. That's what I got. That's it. And I'm like, have a good day. Have fun on your date. Yeah. The next day, I get an email from her. He was indeed a physical therapist with a
Yep.
dazzling smile. It obviously wasn't literally the man she was going out on a
Right.
date with, but that's how
Yep.
my mind interpreted. She asked the question. That's what I got.
Yep.
It's fun.
Like if I'm doing a reading and I see Mother Mary holding a baby, that's my sign that this person lost a child, either had a miscarriage
Okay.
or lost it. I tell them, I see Mother Mary holding a baby. Does that mean anything to you? And they're like, oh, I lost my baby.
Okay.
And I'm like, know that Mother Mary is taking care of your baby.
Now, that leads me to ask you, did you have any kind of religious upbringing that you feel that can help you with some of this stuff? If you have a certain faith, I know a lot of people, it evolves over time, what they believe. I know that's certainly the case for me.
Yep.
I think it all matters. Every experience we have contributes to that. Do you feel that comes up for
Yes.
you?
I very much believe in God. I'm always saying, okay, God, give me a sign. An example of a sign is the first time in my life I actually walked out of a job because the other person was yelling at me for helping them. So I'm like, nope, I can't do this anymore. And so I applied at another facility. I was driving down the road. I was stopped at a stop sign and I was on the phone, hands free. And I'm like, oh, I applied for this other job. As I'm sitting there, the bus for that other place went by and I said, there's my sign. God gives you those signs. You just have to pay attention and keep your eyes open. It can be just the tiniest sign or it can be a big blaring sign.
It's a complicated thing with religion and spirituality. I was raised more by hippies, yet I myself always gravitated to go to church, just where I felt comfortable. I was the little kid that tagged along with my friends to different church services. I guess it was me exploring my spirituality from a very early age, baptized in the Christian church. I think there are many parts of my upbringing and my Christianity that I still hold on to. In many ways, I feel what I've added to that only enhances those things. And as we can see in the current times, the evolution of some religions aren't like we're a part of them anymore. Things just change so fast. So for me, it's always felt comfortable knowing that I've had my relationship with the divine in my heart. I don't require a church or a person to interpret that for me.
Yep.
There's a lot of people out there like that, that can feel it that way. Whatever your path is, whatever people choose to believe, beautiful. I think we can all benefit from those teachings that bring us together, that unify us, that help us, that embrace love and fellowship. That's the best part of bringing people in study and celebration of something larger than ourselves. It can be very complicated.
Yes, it can be. It can be. And it's one of those things like I believe in reincarnation and I know people, they don't believe in that.
It's so interesting to me to hear all these different perspectives because sometimes something like that we can't know for sure until it's our time. I also believe in reincarnation and I've heard some really interesting stories over the years of people regarding past lives. And we'll definitely have people on in future podcast episodes talking about past life work. There are definitely people who specialize in that. So we look forward to talking to them. When I did study at Arthur Findlay in England, I realized, okay, this is another church that I'm not going to join because they certainly at that time didn't believe in reincarnation. It was part of one of their tenets. And I'm like, oh, but I do.
Yes.
So, but it's okay that they don't.
And
it's okay that I do. That's what's beautiful about freedom.
Exactly. It's okay to be curious of everything, hearing other people's perspectives, keeping an open mind, learn, listen to other people and hear their perception and don't just say, well, that's not my belief.
There is no wrong path to spirit.
No.
We all have our own course to chart, and that can take its many forms. I know throughout the course of my life, I have gone through periods of time where I was like, do I believe this? What do I believe? What do I know? And that might happen again. You don't know. Our lives are creative and beautiful and complex. And having that freedom of expression is very important.
It is. It is. Most of all, believe in yourself. That's a really hard thing to do, is to believe in yourself.
Now, Melissa, tell me, so you are seeing people one-on-one, like over Zoom and stuff like that? Is that how you see people
I
for
can
appointments?
actually do it over a phone call.
Phone or
Anything.
internet, and that
Internet.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for people that live local to you,
Mhm.
you see them
Yep.
one-on-one if they need that. We will go ahead and link to Melissa's social channels on this podcast description. Pop in there to visit the link. She does do appointments. Now, as you know, at the end of each guest interview, we do what's called Rare Mediums 10 QQs, which is 10 quick questions that I ask the same quick questions of every guest.
Okay.
Are you ready to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And of course, I need my readers, people. Make sure I do it properly. Do you believe in the afterlife?
Yes, I do.
I'm waiting. I'm wondering if I'm going to ever have a guest that says no. I hope to, because I'm interested in everyone's perspectives. What was your age and the best year of your life so far?
I'm going to say around 12.
Who is your favorite musical artist?
Hands down, Steve Perry.
Steve Perry. I have an aunt. She's right there with you on that. Now, where would you most like to travel?
I would love to travel Europe.
To Europe. What person inspired you the most?
So I am going to go with Charlotte, because she is my mentor, and she brought you to me.
Shara's going to cry when she sees this. That's sweet. But I get it. I totally get it. People that help unlock doors for us and help unlock chambers within ourselves.
Yes.
It's
she doesn't give you the answer. She helps you figure it out yourself. And that's how you're going to learn, is to figure it out yourself with guidance.
That's the best kind of teacher.
Yes.
That's the best kind of teacher for sure. Now, if you could be in an entirely different profession, what would it be?
I think it would be doing my mediumship full time.
Okay.
Because I love helping people.
What are you grateful for?
I am grateful for my friends and my family. I love,
Do you love yourself?
So I have occasions where I'm not so much in love with myself, but I'm working on it. And I think that's what people need to do.
What do you most regret?
What I most regret? You know what? I don't regret anything, because it made me who I am.
In a word or two, if you had advice for your fellow humans, what would it be?
Love one another.
Great advice. Melissa, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you having me.
It's been a pleasure to have you on. I know she'll be back.
Oh, definitely.
Because the people that live close to me, we like to talk to each other. As different things come up, we'll definitely have you back. It'll be a lot of fun.
Love you guys.
Thank you. Welcome to the questions and shout out portion of the show. I was suggested this week by my friend Penny, she's one of the board members here at the Heartglow Center, that I answer the 10 QQ questions. So this is the 10 quick questions that I ask every guest on Rare Medium. Trusty readers, to make sure I get the question exactly right. Do you believe in the afterlife? Absolutely. I, of course, believe in the afterlife. What was your age and the best year of your life so far? I'm going to say 30, and my daughter was born just before that. That'll give you a hint on that. Who is your favorite musical artist? Talking Heads. Where would you most like to travel? I would like to go to Oahu, Hawaii. What person has inspired you the most? My daughter, Reagan. If you could have an entirely different profession, what would it be? I would be a forensic scientist. What are you grateful for? Another day. Do you love yourself? I absolutely love myself. What do you most regret? I most regret giving my power away to others. It took me a while to learn that one. In a word or two, what advice do you have for your fellow humans? Love. Well, there's my answer to the 10QQ. Let's see, my shout out today. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to Riverside Studios. Riverside is the particular program, app, website that I use to record the podcast. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. The technology they offer, all the assistance that they offer, and for me to be able to get this podcast out with pretty much just a few clicks of a button after everything is recorded. It is amazing. I highly recommend you check it out if you're interested in any type of recording, podcasting. That is riversidestudio.com. Until next week, keep your heart glowing. This has been Rare Medium with Deb Snyder. Please subscribe in your favorite channel and leave any comments you'd like us to see. To learn more, visit debsnyder.com or heartglow.org.